All right, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I'm just going to read a little thing that we start out with. It's the risk of AI. AI can be a powerful tool to reduce the workload of employees and organizations, but there are risks associated with using AI that need to be mitigated. For example, on June 29th, 2023, Australian Research Council announced that they had received applications generated by ChatGPT, prompting them to release a statement advising against it as it may constitute a breach of confidentiality. This is one example of the risks of generative AI that can present in an organization. How many people here, just a little quick poll of the audience, how many people here think that AI is an opportunity? Okay. How many thinks it's a threat? A lot more. And hence our discussion for today. Just a quick introduction. My name is Kathy Swasina, and I'm a retired Army colonel. Background is information technology, of course, and I was a deputy CIO for the Army. And I'm a part of the think tank for HISPE and Project Cerebellum. And we have our panelists today, Mr. Ty Lambo, Ms. Angela Hinton, and Marina Alvarez. And I'll let them introduce themselves and say a quick word. Ty?
Ladies first.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Marina Alvarez. I retired from the State Department dealing with identity and credential access management about a year ago. I've traveled the journey of IT from my days in the Marine Corps as an air traffic control ComTech working on the tower through the digital evolution to now cybersecurity, AI, and such. So I'm not delicate, I'm not fragile. Please feel free to ask any questions.
Hi, everybody. I'm Angela Hinton. I am by training an attorney. Anything I say at this conference is not legal advice. If you need the advice of an attorney, I suggest
That's an
please
attorney,
go and
yeah.
retain one. But it is simply my opinion and not attributable to anyone for any purpose. Thank you. That said, I came through local government where actually I met Ty Lambo, where I was his sole assigned attorney in handling data governance. And
Not criminal attorney,
No.
just in case you were wondering.
But I was also the City of Atlanta's first IT attorney. So in the course of all of that work, I worked on cybersecurity and data privacy. I then went to VMware, where I was doing some of that same data privacy and cybersecurity, part of the SolarWinds response, yay fun. And I am now with the AI think tank working on AI governance standards and the trusted AI model.
Awesome. So jokes apart, Angela actually kept most of us out of the headlines, as well as from orange jumpsuits when I worked for City Hall. So 10 years ago, I was hired as the first CISO for the city of Atlanta, a city I've come to really love, fall in love with. Been in Atlanta now 23 years, with my family. As you can tell from my accent, I'm from Stone Mountain. Top of the mountain. Sorry, no one from Stone Mountain. Top of it anyway. But I've been here now 23 years. I love Atlanta. I love Augusta as well, by the way, but I actually like Atlanta better. Been in IT about over 3 decades. Been in cybersecurity about 28 years. Back then, it was called information security. So I bring a lot of transferable skills from cybersecurity to AI, risk management, or AI governance and risk management. I think the way this AI race is going, I think if we don't have the guardrails, God help us. It's both an opportunity and a threat, and that's really what this panel is about, just kind of having that discussion on what we should be doing to avoid those blind spots and potentially Skynet type scenarios.
And we're getting closer to that all the time.
Okay, for the younger kids, go ahead and Google it. It's related to a movie called Terminator, and you'll get the gist of what we're talking about.
Thanks. I never think about age, but good point.
Okay, so Project Cerebellum is a AI think tank that we have put together that Ty is leading. And what we are looking at, of course, is like Ty said, we're looking at the guardrails of ethical AI development. So how do we do that? We have a framework that we've put together, and it's called the TAME score. We've done a model, and what we've done is cross-checked all the different types of policies and guidance that are out there from around the world. So we have put together a model that when you are doing development for AI, this shows you that you can check all the blocks to make sure that you're going down the right path and using those guardrails. Our mission and vision, I'll let you go ahead, Ty, and address that.
I actually have to remember that. Well,
there we go.
so, I mean, our belief is AI should cause no harm, but let me define harm. Because if you're using AI, let's say, if you're using, so I'm going to define what harm actually means. Actually, previous slide. Because we've had people say, okay, what do you mean by harm? Like, okay, if we're using AI in the battlefield, we're obviously going to harm the enemy, right? So, but I would say unintended consequences. So it's like what you intended to use that AI system for, you don't, if it does the opposite, then it's causing harm. So that's pretty much our definition of harm. But it should enhance the quality of human life by proactively adopting this governance framework that we have. The one with the diagram, I think it's the one before. So what we did is just about 2 years ago, we launched our first Trusted AI Model 1.0. We looked at different frameworks, the NIST AI Risk Management Framework, several ISO standards around AI governance, and then we said, let's see how they all talk to each other. Let's see how they connect. And that's really what the Trusted AI Model is about. We would have called it the Trusted AI Framework, but anytime you talk AI, for you to sound intelligent, you have to use the word model. So we decided we're going to use the word model in there. So it's not an algorithm, it's not a machine learning model, it's pretty much a framework, but we just chose to call it a Trusted AI Model. So I think that's it. Oh, no, the vision and the mission, that's important.
Right.
I think it's the previous slide. So I have to recite it off the top of my head, which I really don't because I didn't have much sleep. Oh, yeah, that's why the printout is helpful. So thank you. The vision is providing effective guardrails, like Kathy said. So it's safe, secure, responsible, trustworthy AI, but specifically use cases. So if you're using, let's say, I'm going to pick on ChatGPT, nothing against ChatGPT, it's awesome, but it's not perfect, right? Like any other AI platform. So what we're looking at is not the algorithm itself, but your use case. So if you are, let's say, a doctor, and you are trying to diagnose a patient, are you going to upload their PHI, protected health information, into ChatGPT? So show of hands, who thinks that's a bad idea? Sorry, who thinks that's a good idea? Not trying to trick you. Okay, bad idea, because you're not supposed to put somebody else's personal information into ChatGPT, right? Social security number, even your home address. Yeah, you can argue all that is public, but it's assessing your use case to make sure you're doing it safely, securely, responsibly, and in a trustworthy way. And then our actual mission is harmonizing all the different frameworks and making sure that we're a thought leader when it comes to responsible AI, pretty much. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. And within our trusted AI model, we have 4 domains. They actually call them functions in NIST AI RMF. So we kind of use NIST AI RMF as kind of the baseline, and then we map it to different standards, like the ISO standards. Okay.
That's good.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, more and more in the news, we're seeing examples of bad choices, shall we say, with AI development. And we seem to be rushing forward globally towards, the generative AI, where it can write its own programs and become more worldly. And I would say that there's people out there that say it's going to be 20 years or 30 years before we reach a conscious AI. And I would argue that I think we're looking closer to about 6 years. Anybody wish to comment on that one?
Well, let's face it, what is AI? It's code. And everybody has to be careful, not only from the DoD and the government perspective, but even if you're using it yourself personally. Because the data you enter into these AIs, if you read the terms of agreement, it becomes their data. So if you're putting a biographical information, your resume in there to make it sound better and smooth it out, that's a choice. My advice is don't put your name on it, don't put too much information that can be linked to you, and put, what's the equivalent of S&M? In the Marine Corps, we used to say said name Marine, so just put human, said person, and let it write whatever it's going to write without identifying, let's face it, Ty Lambo is not a unique name in the United States. There may be, 3 or 4 of you? But, if you're going to enter John Smith,
Joseph Brown.
But you know what I'm saying is it could be tied to one of 40 million people.
Right.
So be careful, because all AI really is a large language model that you are training it with the data you're putting into. And if you as a service provider are creating AI for your customers, are you claiming rights to the data they input and are going to keep it for yourself? And are you having, somebody from the education leader of the United States, Mississippi, enter data? Are you really training your AI to be, the least with data from the least educated state in the country? Garbage in, garbage out. You have to be careful what you put into it to get it out. And I'm sure all of you guys have had horror stories. Angela will tell me if I'm wrong, but lawyers have gotten busted in court because, and not only in the United States, in other countries, and even with procurement in the federal government, where they will feed into an AI and get garbage out, and the judge will call them out as like, no such case law exists. And that's what we say AI can be weaponized, because you have to validate the input. And the output. Because, just because it says it's right, it needs a human to vet it. So we're just saying be careful, because not only do we have this framework in there, but what data are you giving away by agreeing to the terms of use of an AI? And remember, the United States does not have the GDPR where you have the right to be forgotten like in Europe. When we got all smartphones, we didn't realize we were the revenue as all these apps and all this stuff fish your data from your applications. Keep that in mind. Sorry,
Hey,
next.
I agree with everything she said, and I want to hear Angela's opinion. But the one about Mississippi, was that an AI-generated data source?
No.
Okay, it was a fact.
It's an old paging through the analog recesses of last, or I heard that Mississippi is the 50th out of 50 states in education. Am I wrong?
I'm shocked. Sorry, I'm being cheeky. Sorry, I hope there's no one here from Mississippi. Sorry.
You know, kind of,
Education from Mississippi, that explains a lot about you, Kevin.
Angela, one for you. We touched a little bit on a lawyer that just got disbarred. There was another recent one in the news from Australia. Can you elaborate on some of these uses where these people are actually losing their positions, losing their jobs?
Yeah, so here's the problem. AI is certainly a good tool for some things. It is not a good tool for researching something you don't know. And unfortunately, many of my licensed colleagues of the bar do not understand that you cannot hand over a task that requires a license to do to an AI system and take the product of that and do nothing further than submit it either in a court pleading or submit it to your opponent in litigation or file it with the SEC or something along those lines. It is not a good research tool for something you know nothing about. There is the case I was thinking of is not so much the one in Australia. There's the law firm that was founded by a certain tech giant's dad.
Bill Gates.
Who they submitted a brief, and sure enough, they got sanctioned by the court because apparently somebody used an AI system to write the brief. Again, it's one of those, you have to understand how AI works and what it does. It sees all data as data. So when you have something that spits out, I'm going to use law because it's easy for me to access. If it spits out a case that doesn't exist, somewhere in the known universe, in the data set that AI system was looking at, was probably an exercise that a law professor did for his students, in which he made up fake facts, made up fake cases, and told them to write a brief or an analysis based upon things that don't exist. The problem is that is now part of data. And AI systems don't think, oh, that's good data, that's bad data. All data is data. And that being the case, what happens is, you get people who don't understand you can't risk your license. If it takes a license to do it, don't risk your license by taking the product of an unlicensed service and using it for your professional performance.
We've
But
seen
I would
incidents.
say that doesn't only apply to law. This current administration wants to use AI for procurement. I've done procurement my entire 20-year federal career. One of the last things I did before I retired was the State Department's Evolve contract, a $10 billion contract. I was part of the technical evaluation team that did it. I reviewed it and we gave our feedback to the team. And that's where the human effort is, because this team here, if we're all given a proposal from 40 people to look at it, I'm gonna look at it, do they know the technology? Are the tools they're promoting helpful, hurtful? Does it pass the basic sniff test? But I also have to look at it as how it would help me do my job as a federal program manager if I use this technology. Angela's on the same team with me. She's gonna do the same thing from her perspective. Ty is gonna do the same thing. Kathy's gonna do the same thing. And we have to come by with a unified response to the proposal and say, based on our collective opinion and expertise, we rank this proposal as God's gift to mankind, or it should be turned to the shredder. And it has to go through the procurement office. It has to go through the legal office before it's officially said that way. AI is code. So if a vendor is creating that to vet procurement, tell me they're not going to win because they've created their own procurement and their own coding to do this. It takes, like she said, a license, but it takes industry-specific knowledge, agency or DoD-specific knowledge. My world,
No, I was gonna interject for a second.
go ahead.
So I'd like to approach this from the vendor standpoint. As a vendor, if I am putting my response, I'm preparing my proposal, and I am putting it into an AI system, particularly one that is a public AI system, right? So now I'm putting information that maybe DoD would not want in a public venue.
Or intellectual property. She's got a solution that will revolutionize whatever widget. She's now given away her intellectual proprietary information to the vendor who's generating the AI. Would that be a smart thing to do from an intellectual property perspective? And the DoD, do you want the next super secret top widget proposal to be vetted by a public AI? If you're inventing a new, super secret stealth bullet, and you guys all understand this, civilians don't understand tracer rounds work both ways. And that's what doing this type of information will do. It will let the competition and the enemies know which way you're coming from while you see it coming.
And there's another point to that. When you consider with an AI system, you've put this information in as a vendor, right? So Angela Inc., Angela Defense Systems Inc. puts her information in and she gets this snazzy new proposal. Well, at the same time, Tide Defense Systems Inc. is going to be my competitor. But now my information is part of that AI system because anytime you put data in, you're training the system. So now Tide gets part of my proposal as part of his response from the AI system.
It's his data source to develop his response.
So who's plagiarizing who
Right.
at that point?
And those are the of you guys out there who are old vintage,
Who are you calling old?
old vintage IT people, back on the circular redundancy check. It's going to spin around and never come up with an answer because it's caused an internal loop to go around. So is it an AND gate, NOR gate? What gate? Sorry, electricians.
And I'll finish with this one thing because I know we need to move on. Do we have any people here who are who have statistical experience or accounting experience? Show of hands. Do we have any? Okay, we got one down here. Yep, we got another one. Okay. All right, so then you'll get this. For those of you who have ever dealt with an accountant or been an accountant, you'll understand the concept that an accountant will track down that 1 penny error. Because in their world, a 1 penny error today is a symptom that's going to turn into a 1,000,000 penny error in who knows how long. It might be 2 weeks, it might be 2 years, it might be 2 centuries. But the fact that there's a 1 penny error in their world, that's a sign that something is wrong. One of the things about AI that we are seeing in various news reports is that there are those kinds of 1 penny error type things that are embedded now in AI systems. And so if there is not someone who's vetting the outputs of these systems, those 1 penny errors are going to continue to perpetuate. And I mean that in terms of things like statistical modeling of a disease symptomology or disease progression, disease treatment. Imagine if the statistical modeling is off that little bit. At what point do you end up with something that the analysis is wrong, the treatment is wrong, completely facing approaching the disease in a wrong way?
It's like the old standard joke, close enough for government work. Do you really want that kind of rounding error?
So, I mean,
Mil
that
spec
could,
means different things to civilians and to government.
right, so that could end up as a life or death situation.
Absolutely.
So, other things that we've seen are the use of AI doing things like false news, fake news. We had an incident that we looked at as one of our use cases from Vanderbilt about an email being put out about a mass shooting and what kind of chaos and havoc that caused. Ty, if you want to.
Yeah, so that incident was actually in relation to another mass shooting incident. I think it was Michigan State, where 3 people were killed and 3 students were killed, 5 injured. So Vanderbilt, Peabody, I think it's called the Peabody School, Vanderbilt University, Peabody School of something, pretty much decided to send out a community email to say, yeah, everybody needs to like stick together and support each other in response to the Michigan State mass shooting, and which is all good, right? But they were talking about let's work together as a community. But at the end of that email, there was a quote from ChatGPT. So it was actually a reference. It read, paraphrased from OpenAI's ChatGPT AI language model, personal communication, February 15, 2023. So they obviously used ChatGPT to draft that email, but they forgot to leave out the ChatGPT reference. And their students were horrified. They're like, I mean, if you really, really meant this email, like somebody would have taken the time to actually compose the email, not like ask ChatGPT. So the dean of the college, forgotten what college specifically, actually apologized for that. So this is humans just using AI. So I would say it's human intelligence being dumbed down because they think AI is going to do a better job. Like it's HI downplaying itself, human intelligence, because they think using AI is going to make us smarter. But in that case, it actually made them look really dumb and insensitive.
Okay, so one of the things that we've been doing in the think tank, like we've mentioned, we've been working on the model to put the guide rails on the AI development. And from there, we have created a tool, and it's free, and it's out there. And industry, government, everybody can go out and look at it and use it. And we call it the TAME score. And I will pull it up. Ty, if you want to give a little introduction.
Sure. So the whole idea is, to some extent, simplifying a spreadsheet. So we have this trusted AI model in a massive spreadsheet. I think it has 73 rows, because there are 72 controls in NIST AI RMF, but it has over, I think last time I checked, it was like over 20 columns. So when you look at it, it looks very, very complicated. It looks overwhelming. So we decided we're going to put it in a tool. And anyone can go in. It's a community tool. You can log in using your Google account or your Microsoft account. So we don't store any of the passwords. There's an API call to Microsoft and Google. We don't share any of that data. We kind of analyze it within our think tank, but we don't share that with folks outside of the think tank. So basically what the tool allows you to do is, in less than an hour, you could do an assessment on your AI use case. Now, if you wanted to do a full NIST AI RMF risk management framework assessment, it will take you more than an hour. But we've been able to limit it to like an hour because there are 20 controls out of 72 that maps to those 12 incidents. So the 12 incidents you saw in the previous slides, we actually have mapped those to controls. So at the minimum, you need to be assessing your AI use case against those 20 controls. And you can do that in less than an hour. So what we always recommend is if you're considering the use of AI or you're already using AI, it's a very good health check. To say, are we doing this safely, securely, responsibly, and in a trustworthy way? So I would highly encourage everyone, if you go to projectcerebellum.com, you can actually see a link to TAME score. So that's the tool that Angela is referring, Kathy, sorry, is referring to. I didn't get much sleep.
Actually, Ty, for the benefit of people here, does it create any kind of like written report?
It provides a report on the screen, but there's no exportable report. So it'll give you like a rating. And based on your rating, it'll tell you your AI incident probability. So this tool has actually been in the market for like 20 years, but we just private labeled it for TAME score. So it'll give you a score. We don't allow export of reports because we just don't want you to download stuff that could be used against you. And that's why we don't track too much, so you can just use it as a free resource, or you can download the spreadsheet from the website and incorporate it into your own GRC tools or your own assessment tool. Does that answer your question, Nigel?
It does answer
Yep.
my question, and it answered my question in my favorite way. As an attorney, and again, this is not legal advice, but as an attorney, if my client is being approached for having either not complied with something or not done something that the person approaching them believes they should have, one of the first things they do is say, all right, let's see your records. And if you've got a record of something where you've done an assessment and you've decided, yeah, it says I should make that change, I can't make that change right now, I'll make it later. Well, when there's a report that says you didn't make a change that was recommended, that's never a good thing. So that's one of the things that I do enjoy about how this has been developed, that it is for your use as an organization to determine whether or not your use case is, whether you're really ready to do it and what you need to do to be compliant with the model. But again, there's not like a piece of paper that sits in a file that now you have to worry about lawyers like me coming by.
This is why I love working with Angela. So it's not a attestation, it's not a certification, it's a self-assessment tool. So if you lie to it, of course, it's going to say you're great. So, because it's questionnaire based. So yeah, that's a really good point. Like if you say, yep, I do all that, like some folks are doing with not CMMC, DFARS, NIST SP 800-171, and they submit a report in the SPARS SPRS registry to say, yep, we have all the controls, and they don't. And then they're liable under the False Claims Act. This is really a self-assessment tool, right? So it's supposed to, almost like you taking a COVID test at home, without going to see the doctor or whatever.
How many of you guys are system owners in the federal government? How many own actual systems in the federal government or DOD? Would you ever submit your ATO package without knowing the status of your ATO package? You would at least look at it and make sure you've got, this is your ability for AI. This is your ability to know what you yourself have done. And if there's weaknesses you have to address, is there a patch you have to address? You know it. There's no record of it. There's no anything of it that can be used against you. But you can then self-create a poem or a progress to how you're going to mitigate something that you're uncomfortable with or may not help your client because you don't meet this NIST framework or this ISO 9000 ISO standard or whatever. You get to look at the grade before the final exam. The ultimate CYA? I don't know. Your opinion?
We also have the option where you can host it yourself. So you could say, hey, I don't want any of this in a shared database, even though it's role-based and it's all segmented data. But you could say, yeah, we just want to do a private label of the tool. You have the ability to do that as well. We'll work with you on that. So that's one other option if you want to keep all that information in-house and within your control. Yeah.
Because to be honest, correct me if I'm wrong, Tay, but when the tool's out there, we don't care what the tool does. you're going in there and logging in. You can name it, Nose Picker App 101. And if you use that same app name every time you test, we'll see the stats that you logged in and you tested the same app 3 or 4 times. And that's the only statistics we're collecting as to, is this same application being tested or reused or updated, and we can make assumptions from that. But we don't care what it's named or who's using it, just to be consistent that it came from ABC Corporation, System 1 was tested 3 times, 1 time, 45 times, whatever, and we can see those datas. Am I right?
Yes. Note Picker 101, is that what you call it? I use the word Acme. So if you actually saw the database, you see a lot of Acme, companies called Acme. And it could be Acme 1. So I don't put the actual client name in it.
So is that Acme as like in the Looney Tunes, a company that makes everything?
Yes.
I know, I'm showing my vintages, forgive me.
All right, so we're going to show you a couple of snapshot slides just to show you what kind of the assessment that we're talking about here. So what I have up there right now is the beginning of the trusted model. And if you want to...
Yeah, so you create, the first thing you do, is you create an assessment profile, which is pretty much your use case, so it's the company size, demographics, because it allows us to maybe benchmark your scores, or allows you to benchmark your scores against similar companies. And then once you've created that, you create an assessment. So the assessment will be the use case within that organization, or that you're assessing. And so that's it. I mean, it's pretty much like a 3-step process, and then you'd actually be able to see the questionnaires, the mappings, and then you'd be able to dive into the reporting as well. So it's a very simple product. I think we kept it very simple and just very basic.
It's the background of the model.
Absolutely.
That is the engine in the background, making sure that all the project is aligned to all the different guidances that are out there.
Right.
So when you get the TAME score and you put in your data and you go through all this is the product that you get. So you can see how off you are by the circular model, where you need to work on your program.
And one thing to say is, if you start at a level 1, because we use CMMI to rate, don't feel too bad. At least you have something. If you start in at 0, or you say nothing applies, then now we need to have a conversation. That means you really don't care about AI governance. But they say a journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. The first step is to know where you are in the journey, right? So you could be at level 1, and your goal could be to be at level 2, level 3, from a maturity standpoint. So don't feel discouraged if it shows that you have a 1 score. I'll give you an example. When I worked for the city of Atlanta, we used a similar rating because I own the IP. And in our initial assessment, we were actually at a 1 on a scale of 1 to 5 maturity. And they said, "Oh man, we're bad." I'm like, "Yeah, but I just wanted to give you the visual." And I was able to show how that ties into like a credit score. So if somebody has a credit score of 100 out of 850, I think is the maximum you can get. I mean, do you actually want to give them a loan if you're a bank manager? And I said, constituents, the data they're entrusting to us, the PII, PHI, even bank account details, that's their crown jewels, right? We're not really worthy of that data right now because we're not very secure, but we have a plan to get to a better state, get to level 2, get to level 3. And the fact that we actually had a plan, apparently put us 10 steps ahead of most municipalities at the time. Because we found out when we were trying to get cyber insurance, they're like, you guys are like 10 times ahead. I'm like, sorry, maybe it's the accent. Like, we haven't fixed it. Like, this is how much we suck. They're like, yeah, but at least you know you suck. And you quantify the fact that how much you suck. Like, that means you're way better than most municipalities, because a lot of them have their head in the sand, thinking it's not going to happen to them. So anyway.
So admitting you need help is the first step, is what we're
Right.
hearing.
I like the way you put that succinctly, yeah.
In the 12-step program.
Right.
So
So
when,
are you saying we're creating an IT 12-step program? I'm sorry.
You can say that from an AI risk management standpoint, yeah.
Should I leave now, everybody?
I need it. I kind of need it. Okay, so once you've used the model and you've gone in and you see something like, okay, I'm a little off on this, how can you do your corrections? How do you know what to do to correct? And can this
I
be
really
used
want to hear
against
from
you?
the lawyer here. I'm just a security guy.
Well, I mean, obviously, depending upon what it is that it's showing you need to shore up, that is where you would focus your attention. Obviously, then the reason why I said I like that there's not like a written report is because it does give you the opportunity to think about where do you want to focus. Do you want to go for where you can get the most bang for your buck? Maybe you want to have policies written, or you want to think about who in your organization has the right to use AI, or what data sets you want to segregate from an AI system. Obviously, if you're working with personal health information or personally identifying information, sensitive information, that's the sort of thing you want to be mindful about, whether or not you're going to allow it into an AI system. Are there any circumstances in which you would allow it into an AI system? All of that then becomes part of your decision making. Here's my score. All right, how do I want to approach this?
So I'm not trying to trick you, Angela, but let's go back 10 years, right? I come to
Okay.
you and I say, as my attorney, this is my score, I suck.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to advise me to stop that use case, or are you going to say, proceed, but you're on your own? Or WTF?
For lawyers, it's always, this is actually the hard part, because the clients always want you to say, go ahead, just do it. There's always that difficulty of trying to make sure that if the client's going to go forward, they're going to go forward in a safe manner. So the conversation at that point with a client, where they show me a score and they say, yeah, look, our score really sucks. Okay, let's talk about how does it suck? What specifically are you not doing, and what of that can you do? And then, of course, to the extent that you choose not to make certain changes, how are you protecting against the risk of not making that change? So, for example, if you are in an organization where you have not told, you don't want your data being used in a public AI system. What is it? ChatGPT-4 is the new one, 5? I don't know. And I'm just using that as an example because it's publicly available. If you don't want your data, or if you want certain data to be able to be used in a public AI system, then you need to be thinking about who you're going to train to be able to do that in your organization. So you may pick, 2 people, and those are the only 2 people who can use that kind of data in a public system. Or you may, want to go through a training or using, Lord, what is the term? You and I have done this a million times. Role-based permissions. In terms of people being able to use an AI system, so that they can access it because based on their role they have access. It's those kinds of decisions that attorneys will help to advise you through, because it's not just the what you choose to do, it's also the what you choose not to do, and how do you prevent the risks that are associated with not doing what you've chosen not to.
So you're saying compensating controls for your decision not to immediately correct this issue. What are you going to do to keep the 3-year-old in the room from accidentally using that?
Yep, you got it.
That's all based on the fact that you're assuming my CIO is not saying, Ty, you do this or you're out of work. My boss.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a conversation that one has
Yeah.
to have with the CIO to say, you know, here's your risks. We've
And it-
identified them.
And as a CIO, I'd be looking at you to advise me.
Oh, so I'm the fall guy.
Right.
We've got a question in there.
That was
Yeah.
a given.
Yes, my name is Kevin Chavez with George Mason University, and I was wondering if you have any incidents where there's liability or risk, legal risk in particular, in the research and development arena, when using AI, to do some of the research, creates data, bears risk, somebody killed.
Okay, so again, although I'm an attorney, sorry, I forgot to turn this on. Although I'm an attorney, please remember this is not legal advice. I sort of am of two minds about the whole research and, for that matter, liability issue. I think at the moment, people are sort of traveling on the expectation that whatever their cyber liability insurance is, that is going to cover them. As an attorney, that doesn't work in my brain, because if I price out a policy for your organization, I'm looking at your organization's functions, its compliance with certain things, how long it's been in place, the expertise of your staff, how many claims you've had before, so on and so forth, right? If you now introduce an AI system into doing what you do, and that AI system is allowed to make decisions, or you take the product, the output of it, and you implement, and that creates some damage, I, as an insurance company, am going to say, that's not what I priced out. And I've been sounding the alarm on this for kind of a while, because an insurance company, you know, they're all about, we assess the risk to providing you with coverage. So now when you expand that to a research institution, you know, again, I'm in that mindset of AI is helpful as a tool, but it needs to be vetted by the human intelligence. And I come back to that 1 penny error, right? If a research AI has an embedded, essentially a 1 penny error, right? Or it reads one strand of DNA the wrong way, that's where I get nervous, because my thought is, if the humans aren't going back and making sure that the output is valid and that it's correct, that it's what you asked for, because that's the other thing. You can ask one of these AI systems, give me a plan for balancing my checking account. Okay, what if it tells you how to balance your checking account, but it took your savings account balance into account? But that's not your checking account balance, right? So now it's giving you, it technically gave you an answer, but the answer was based on information you didn't intend to include. So that's why I'm saying, I think you gotta have the humans, you can't take the humans out of the loop.
So the upstream version of that is when big green team or big purple team, USG is writing requirements or request for proposal and saying they would like you to use AI models. Is there, just the problem of keep going? So there's no real answer to that right now, but something to think about.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Taking that risk
And as we, are rapidly approaching artificial general intelligence, where basically, the computers are going to be writing its own code, we definitely still need a human in the loop.
Yeah, I actually say that's human intelligence in the loop, right? Because you can have a human who's just checking the box, but they have to apply their. And when we think intelligence, people always think you have to be like super smart, like just common sense, like basic common sense. Because there's intuition, there's like things that humans can feel and perceive that machines can't, at least not yet. So
Think of AI as your toddler. You've
Right.
got a 3-year-old who's having a temper tantrum, and you have to explain, you can't do that right now, and it eventually develops its own. Do you really want that to go on with a computer and create an iRobot or a Skynet situation? I think we had a question.
Yeah, I'm from Finland, representing Poland, Europe. And we have had a lot of what you say, like, besides these events where our beautiful friends from the east, the Russians have kind of flooded with information, some of the large technical models. So are you experiencing that here as well? Did you get the question or heard the question?
misinformation, like
Yeah, the
AI
Russians
generated.
are flooding the language models because, first of all, Finland is a fairly small language group,
Yeah.
only 5.5 million speakers. So
Yeah.
they mass produce these articles from newspapers that don't even exist about our politicians saying something about Russians, which they never had.
Right.
And now they're mainly using that information to propaganda purposes for their own people, but also some of the Finnish students, for example, do reports, and then they, as you explained, the garbage in, garbage out.
So you're saying they're doing data poisoning?
Yeah, they are. So I
Yeah.
mean, just
Yeah.
it's easy to do those small language group like the Finnish is, but in English, okay, the pollution it's not big, but these things escalate because you can mass produce this
Absolutely.
information.
I mean, I have a very unique perspective about that. I went to school in the UK back in the 90s, and we talked about information warfare as a future thing. We've been living that for at least 10 years, right? AI has just made it even more, it's made it easier for the bad actors or the adversary. It's really made it a lot easier. And I think what we're seeing in the European countries, it's only a matter of time, if it's not already here in the States and in North America in general, that we're going to see it here as well. So, I mean, everything you're saying really resonates with me. But if we have the guardrails, it could be used for good or bad. But even the folks who are using it for bad still need to have guardrails around it, right? So it's like we just have to be aware of if the intended outcome is X, for it to do what that X is, right? Not do something else. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you mentioned that a couple of times. So what is your vision for what you mean by guardrails? And I put that in the context of we've been doing this for a long time. Internet, all these things come about.
Right, and this is great. I can grade myself. I'm not worried about myself. I'm worried about the rest of the world. So how do I put this into a platform where now I can, and again, it's not perfect, but even in the banking community, I can look up people's credit scores, I can do things and make a risk decision based on some kind of information. If all of this is self-promulgated, and I think he's just hitting the beginning of it's polluted. All this data is polluted. And we're giving up all our rights to that data pretty much. I mean, getting a patent nowadays is interesting, but almost useless because you need a team of lawyers. The ethical it's way beyond us now. So what is your vision, I don't know, 3, 5, 10 years from now on how we really make this a tool that I can determine who I can do business with online rather than making myself feel good that I suck, but I don't suck as bad as everybody else.
Great question, Dan. And shout out to Dan. He's actually a member of a think tank. My vision is that we have, this doesn't have to be the TAME score, but we have something like they have with the FICO score for consumers. Even though that's controversial, I know it's not perfect, but maybe a D&B Dun& Bradstreet type rating for AI risk. Like if we can just have that for the products out there and then the use cases, I think that could be a good win for everyone. But we have to standardize we all have to agree on, we have to adopt the frameworks and we have to harmonize them. And that's why we're focused more on harmonizing the frameworks.
So at some point you see this going beyond a self-assessment and then somebody coming in,
Absolutely.
kind of like a trusted broker.
Absolutely.
Because we know all those brokers are trustworthy.
Right.
Yeah, never trust a 3PAO.
But
never.
what's the alternative? It's better than nothing still, right?
Keep the lawyers away. Nothing
We
personal.
can never do that.
And yeah, it's a very hard problem because we have a history.
Yeah.
I wonder if we look back. I graduated university in '81. I didn't get a computer until '84, and then I was building PKI systems in the '90s. So we've moved really, really fast without thinking about the consequences of where we are, and now we're in a big hurt.
Yes.
And not only is it us, right? We got all our adversaries using these tools against us. Yeah. So it's kind of it's a hard problem. I appreciate what you're trying to do.
Yes. I think we could just be a little part of the solution. Like, I think it's going to take a lot of collective solution. I mean, there's efforts by even the Vatican. They have this thing called the Rome Call, where they have 5 or 6 principles around responsible AI.
Yep.
You know, you think, what does the Vatican have to do with AI governance? But they're worried. They're worried about the human impact.
Right.
You know, the job displacement, you know, the stuff that could really go wrong. So we're just trying to be part of the solution. I think eventually we'll realize that it's not going to be good for us, humanity, and we're going to figure out a way to tame this beast. Yeah.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions? Okay, I have one. How many people out here in the audience now listening to this think that an assessment tool, whereas a company that's developing AI, if they have a badge that say they're doing ethical AI, how many people think that? A pledge. How many people think that would be valuable? Would you be looking to do business with
would you be
that
comfortable
company
with that?
rather than somebody that hasn't gone through an assessment?
So you trust their pledge, that the fact that okay. Trust but verify.
Trust but verify.
Okay.
That's the world of IT, trust but verify.
Okay.
Right.
That's good.
All right. Thank you all for coming. We're going to wrap up. And if you want to see more of the score and actually go through it, we can help you with that.
Everyone, you have to have been here an hour to scan in your badge, so please don't scan in your badge if you came in at the last minute. And also remember, you need to be an AFCEA member, so if you're not an AFCEA member, you need to join in the next few days. And again, thank you, Kathy, Ty, Angela, and Marina for all your help. Appreciate this. Again, thank you.